See. All right. So when we last left off, we talked about, hey, the importance of the lesson plan, and we were doing fundamentals and components of the lesson plan that included, us making sure that we got everything in check. So we looked at the components of the state board prep, and I just want to look at a few things um, as it relates to that chapter 10, program development and lesson planning. And so, as I'm recording somewhere. Hold on one moment. I can't do that. Us making sure. Okay. All right. So this program development and lesson planning. So I'm super excited about just getting to this part because this becomes the meat and potatoes of pretty much the educator having not only their classroom management, but also managing the skills and organizing the information. It's a lot of information, a lot of knowledge. And, as an educator, we always want to share, but it is a time and a place to organize the information. As we prepare to organize the information, we organize and give the information based on where the student is. So as they're new and they come in, a lot of times they receive the fundamentals. As they grow in their hours, they start to develop new skills. As they hone in on those skills, they're able to receive more detailed, intricate skill set until they're at just a point where you have reviewed everything under that cosmetology scope and the practical and the theory that they were supposed to have while they're there with you. But the biggest strength that any educator could have is building that program, and then not only building a program is providing each educator with what they need, the resources, especially to get the job done. And so for us at DCI Academy, we are more of a hybrid online, as you can see, and we're more of virtual concept where we do a lot of our theory training on in a virtual space. Okay. And when they're in the house, they're all hands on, and we do some review as well. We take it back a little bit. I want to make sure when they're in the building that any questions that they may have had, whether online in the virtual space that they didn't get the answer, or they were, didn't want to ask the question, that they feel like it's a safe place, to get their question asked. And so a lot of time, I look at the educator as to evaluating what the student needs. And so we build our lesson plans, and we went through our Canva, our sample templates. We build our lesson plans with components to make sure everybody's experience in the classroom is a good experience. And ultimately, every student that walks out of the door takes something with them. And that's every day. Okay. That's how you know that learning is taking place. It is a process, but it's a very rewarding process. Okay. And after you've done so many, um, you've written and you rewritten, you rebuilt. I believe after a year, you'll be like, oh, I got this down pat. Okay. And of course, lesson plans, they're there, so once you do them one time, you don't really have to redo them. But I encourage new educators in this day and age, this Gen Z market, whatever market that your school brings in, that you refresh those lesson plans, that you add something new to it. Last night I was talking about, I want to learn more about the Tesla Cybertruck.
Mhm.
Um, and a friend of mine was saying, hey, it's the first version. So the first version usually has a lot of things, a lot of kinks it has to work out. He said, I will wait to a couple versions on down. And by waiting a couple versions on down, they would have modified whatever issues they may have had in the first version. So, makes a lot of sense. Okay. So the same thing I would think with the lesson plans. Continue to modify it. Okay. Your learners that they come in, they're not going to all learn the same. One group is not going to be like the second group. They're all going to have different learning intelligences, and we need to make sure that that lesson plan touches at least four different learning styles. And so that's what we're going to continue to pick up on and build. We're going to have that in the back of our mind as we continue to build, because it is the lesson plans, the notes, all of those components is going to make our students have a great learning experience. You want them 10 years down the line to say, hey, I learned a lot from her. And then I've had students to say, hey, I did not want to finger wave in school. You made me finger wave when it was not popular, and it was not popular, but I knew it was a fundamental. It was a basics of hair design, hairstyle, and hair shaping. If I could train their hands and their eyes together, they could look at any style and they could mock it. And so that finger waving boot camp that we used to have, and then you got students who graduated years down the line working in the salon, and the same ones would inbox me and say, thank you. Finger waves came back around and I was ready. I've been killing it and making a lot of money off of it. And I was like, yep, that's it. That's how it has to be. And so that concept was just one way that even though it wasn't popular, I knew they had to have it. So it was a part of my lesson plan that really monthly, that finger wave boot camp, and that's one of the things I taught in my lessons. So I had about 7 things I had to teach. That was one of them. If you're teaching cutting, even though you go through the cutting chapter, it's a core service. Cutting and coloring core services. You want to build your students up for success. So every week I was referencing something related to cutting and coloring, even though we had our other stuff. Or every month, you want to reference something with color and cutting because you want to build them up in those areas to be successful. Okay. Um, so we talked about desired performance goals, listing the steps in the curriculum development process. And a lot of times this goes into educator think tanks. It's great to have a team, and it's great that directors and managers um, could come from the role of educators, because now we're building curriculum. We know what the student needs to get on the other side, which is licensure, and we build it and develop it with sound experience, sound advice, sound knowledge, and I can put up our curriculum against anybody's. What makes my curriculum special? Me, because I do the research. We may use a base of Milady or Pivot Point and the curriculum already drawn out. But I told a young lady from Milady, she said, why do you feel like you have to add to it? They just wanted to know why I continue to add to it, because it's a basis. It's a foundation piece, but I have to customize it for my audience, which is my learners. Okay, it will not fit all of my learners, and I'm not just using a shell. And I want my learners to know that it's bigger than this. It's bigger than that. Let's look at the concepts of the master educator. We're going to use lesson plans as a guide that makes them their own. So we have them. It's a great shell. Now make it your own. Add to it. Take away from. what worked for your class last time, what didn't work. Okay. Bring their own talents. You're going to bring your own talents, your own experiences, and personal characteristics to each classroom. You have to make them yours. So you may have, they're going to give you a said lesson plan, and then you have to make it cater to your classroom. Okay, because the said lesson plan is just very general and bland. And so it could also be bland, such as in teaching, like boring. And so you gotta be creative. Um, Master education, beauty school education is not something that you will just say, "Hey, I'm gonna wing it." I've been in the salon 30 years. I can wing this. No, being in the salon and being an educator is not the same thing. Owning a salon and being an educator is not the same thing. Okay. So there's no such thing as winging it. If you've seen all the chapters we've had to review already, there's no such thing as just figuring it out when I get there, because you have these lives on the line. Okay. When you have these lives on the line, you got to make sure that you are bringing something that cultivates how they learn. So, yes, you're going to bring what makes you special, and that should make every classroom different. You're going to bring your own talents, your own experiences, your own references, and just your own personal characteristic to the classroom. Of course, you're going to follow the outline, okay? And you're going to add your sauce to it. I call it secret sauce. You're going to add that. Here are some planning concepts and preliminary analysis. You're going to properly develop the program that will result in an orderly, systematic process of education. That is the organization of the lesson. All right. If a student coming in on the first day, I'm not gonna allow them to be on the floor the first day. Okay. If a student is coming in on the first day, no, they can't be on the floor the first day. They need to have some fundamentals. Whereas I know that is very important. Although a student may come in with the skill, that skill would not be utilized. I need to build some things into that student. First, we need to build soft skills. How well do they interact with their classmates, their instructor? I need to learn a little bit about their character. Also, I need to make sure they know the ins and outs of sanitation, just initial student and client interactions, how to drape, how to greet. So no, that person has a skill set, but they're not going to be on the floor the first day. And I know that may be an easy way to get them from, said quote unquote being bored, but educators gonna have to work. We're gonna have to work. We're going to have to properly develop a program that organizes the information. And this is where you see module one, module two, module three, module four, so on and so on. This is also, for example, where you see freshmen, the ones that come into the building. They may mock a college statue, such as freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior. All right. So definitely, if you decide your students are, if you're in the freshman classroom, you're doing all the basics. That means you're getting all the babies. If you're in the senior classroom, okay, they are more mature. These students are probably on the clinic floor and they're prepping for state board prep. And so they're on two different wavelengths. And so, no, we won't be able to put them all together. And no, we won't be able to just, take one all the way back and then take one all the way forward. So we got to make sure that the program we develop has a great order, a great organization, that it's a system. Okay. And a system sets the student up to achieve success. The preliminary analysis of the programs, course objectives, our goals, our lesson plans, all of those should be part of the planning process. When we are team building and figuring out what we're going to teach, who's going to teach it. When you're building the organization, and scheduling must be done before teaching can take place. We need to know when this class is in place. With our students, once they enroll, they do get a welcome letter, and within the welcome letter is a schedule. And that schedule, they can keep up. They know when their class is going to take place, what time, and what platform that class is going to take place. But we had to have all that organized before we even went into enrolling a student. It just had to be done. The curriculum development is it should really follow success. It should really follow success. If you're not mocking a curriculum with nothing else in mind, I don't know what we're doing. Success of the student. So curriculum development is a set of courses constituting an area of specialization. That specialization is cosmetology, right? For us. Cosmetology can be broken into subspecialties. You have aesthetics, you have nail technology, you have natural hair. In Tennessee, there's lash specialty. Um, what else do we have? And master educator, instructor training. So there's so many other specialized areas. So you don't have to teach everything. You can break it all the way down and build from there. Build on each specialty. Just say if we did sub um, additional subtopics and we went into cosmetology and did hair color, where hair color will have own curriculum, its own curriculum. What do we want to achieve? Hair color is so broad. When I was teaching, I used to be a module 4 educator for a career college, and it had 10 weeks, and we had in 10 weeks our students get hair color. 10 weeks. That was one of the most amazing programs. Also in 10 weeks, they had hair cutting. So they had 2 teachers. And those students became very skilled because every day for 10 weeks, they cut. Every day for 10 weeks, they colored. We got the theory. We had enough time for theory breakdown and enough time for practical and clinicals. All right. So at the end of the day, you have to also not just say this is what we're going to teach, but what are the times? How long does it take for us to take this schedule, to take this curriculum and move throughout? Okay. So at the end of the day, that's what we have to have in place. How long will it take for our students to go through the process of learning this particular curriculum, this particular specialty? Some lesson plans, it may have an hour a day. Some lesson plans say it only needs 6 hours. So if you're, just say 5 hours. So just say your theory is 1 hour each day. So in your school is Monday through Friday. Well, if the lesson only takes 5 hours to teach everything, you can break that down to 1 hour a day. So this chapter, this lesson is only going to take 1 week for me to teach. And so you would build that in your curriculum. That when we go over this, we have only allotted 1 week. And then there may be other chapters that say, hey, it's going to take 10 hours. So that is going to be 2 weeks. You may say, hey, this chapter is going to take this. And most chapters do not exceed like a 2-week trial, but at that particular career college, our students were in school with us for about 60 weeks. And so we took some of the core courses and gave them more time, such as cutting, such as coloring, because we wanted those students to really focus in on those core. And it really matters who your managers and directors are that take your lead when you share about necessary areas that students must practice. And so it's good to have good relationships. And remember, in curriculum development and lesson planning, it has to come from a place of experience also. So whether you've never wrote, you've never taught before, but you have styled hair, you have been a professional for such and such years, those years matter. That's experience. You have known what a new person needs, you know the tools that someone in the middle needs, you know the tools of someone on down the line. You've seen them come in with no tools. And so all of that experience is going to matter in the building of these organizational curriculums, okay? All of that is going to matter. And then it says effort must be put into curriculum development, including a number of key steps. All right, so that means what do we do first, second, third, so on and so on and so on. When it comes to curriculum development, we had 6 modules. Each module was 10 weeks apiece. So, of course, the first module was the first 10 weeks. In there, we did a lot of short chapters, a lot of foundational chapters, and we intro, of course, that included shampooing, sanitation, and an intro to basic styling, like roller setting, things of that nature. Sector 2 may have been more into hairstyling. Now we move from hairstyling to chemical services. That may have been 2. Section 3 may have been facials and manicures, brows. We're moving into that. And 4 could have been, I think 4 was hair cutting. So we had all those. You have all of those additional skills. Now we're going to add cutting boot camp. And in 5, it was coloring, all those skills plus coloring boot camp. And when you got down to 6, it was now time for us to put all of that together. And now it's time for state board prep. So we had 10 weeks of prepping you for the state board exam. All right. So very proficient way of teaching. If I had the time, I would probably take some pieces of it, but because of DCI Academy, we came in rolling on in a non-traditional market with the online space that I didn't need to do that, and then it's a different student than what it was 10 in 2007. It's a different student. And I think I was at that program from 2007 to 2014. And so it was an amazing, amazing program. But at the end of the day, every classroom is different. It's a new breed of student that comes in, and you have to be able to cultivate it. And so now with the students that I have come in, I've had to cultivate build our own lesson. Yes, with the foundational of either Malady or pivot point, but I've had to totally rebuild lesson plans just simply because it was time. Anything old, anything stale, it just was not producing. It will not produce. So you have to keep fresh. You got to stay fresh and things of that nature. All right. And then steps for developing a course of study. And this is for any educator. And this is where I've said too, what are the 2 areas that you like to do? Figure out the 2 things you like to do, and let's build a lesson plan on it. Steps for developing a course of study, it's 13 steps. Let's just go through those 13. Determine resources for course content. Obtain, review information. List essential tasks and topics. And let me go back to the one and bring it all the way home. Determine resources for course content. A lot of time we need to say, what do I have? If I'm teaching hair coloring, what do I need to teach hair coloring other than hair color product? What do I need? I need the information. That's mainly what I need. I need the information. So I need to make sure our students have the textbook. I need a copy of the chapter, whether it's a shared textbook or my own textbook. I need to have the initial lesson plan so I can build from there. Other resources, do I have videos? Do we have product? Okay. Can I go ahead? Do I have one guest speaker that I can pull in? Before I'm even building, I'm already setting this plan out. Also, could we do a field trip at the end? Okay. That we would go out and see someone who, could we do a business component that go into a salon and they talk about how much money they make or additional education that they needed for this. So at the end of the day, You want to make sure that you're full of resources before you start. And then you're going to obtain and review the information, list essential tasks and topics. So for a person to learn hair color, I need them to learn all of these pieces. Um, I need them to know the law of color. That's the foundational. I need them to know the categories of color. So that's semi-permanent, permanent, so on and so on. I also need them to know about hair colorants. I need them to know about products. I need them to know about lighteners. I need them to move into formulations. I need them to move into procedures. Okay. I need to, if something happened, the safety components of them, preparing the clients. Also include upselling, retailing, appointment booking. All of that will be included in that course that I'm getting ready to teach. Okay. Um, and I'm going to list the essential tasks and topics, sort the topics and tasks. And when we sort them, that's when we put them in organization. What do we learn first? If it's hair color, we are not going to do the theory of hair color in the back. I'm going to do the fundamentals in the front. For the first 3 to 4 days, my student may not touch any product. You got to get that fundamental down. I may give them watercolor, and we got to draw the color wheel. I got to see you be able to understand this law of color. Let me see you window paint it out. Let me see you draw, and let me see you, how do you perceive green? How do you perceive blue? I need to see that. So some of our classroom activities, and every day it should be an activity. Some of our classroom activities may include some hands-on just activities in the beginning, but no matter how many games and activities you have, you can spread them out. Sequence the subject categories. We're still talking about organization. Allocate time for each subject area, which means how long are we going to do this? How much time are we going to give throughout our day to this? And that helps us, especially because students need to know you're not going to be on this all day. Nope, you're not going to do this all day. And if they miss a day, they're going to miss out. You may definitely set up something for makeup, but you're not going to be able to go all the way back. So it should also increase the student retention. And student retention is going to be important. That's students who come to school. They consistently come to school, so their attendance is probably a certain amount. So improving the student retention. And at the end of the day, we want to make sure that they're in the building, because if they're in the building, we can teach. If no one's in the building, no teaching and teaching can take place, but no learning is taking place. Identify the units of instruction, allocate time for each of the units in instruction, develop a course outline or syllabus. And that syllabus is going to be like a calendar. So from the 12th to the 15th, this is what we're going to do. From the 15th, the 16th to the 19th, this is what we're going to do. The syllabus will also include a grading scale. It'll also include any projects. The syllabus will also include any rules or regulations that you have for your classroom. Reiterate uniform policy. What if you have something with cell phone, with food, it just reiterates those. And so those syllabus, like August is around the corner, and I'm preparing my August syllabus now / calendar. So my students gonna have a whole outlook of what August looks like. And every day is not gonna be a surprise. They're gonna know every day what we're working on. And then we're gonna get to the point of developing the lesson plan. We're going to develop the method of student evaluation. How are we going to test them to make sure they know what they're talking about? Okay. And so testing them, what type of tests are we going to give? Are we going to give them quizzes? Are we going to have multiple choice? Are we going to do a live quiz where you ask them questions and they answer them, you give them points? Or are you going to do paper tests? For us, we do have virtual tests. that we send it out to the students. The students can open up, click it, and then they have to put the answers down and they send it back over to us. Um, and it comes already graded back to us. We're going to develop a comprehensive schedule. And so with this subject, it needs to be taught how many hours, and we'll dedicate what, a week or 2 weeks when it's time for us to turn in information for the school as far as inspection. We get to add in new curriculums, submit new curriculums if we want to. And at the end of the day, if we want to change our curriculums, we can. We don't have to, but we want to develop a comprehensive schedule. We can also develop an orientation program, which is like a little time where you give student maybe a week to kind of get adjusted to the schedule without taking them fully all the way in the program. You may give them a couple of days. So steps for developing a course of study. So the same things that we just talked about, we'll put them into steps and look at it at an advisory council. So most career colleges would either have an advisory council, advisory board, and what that advisory board is made up of are licensed individuals within that craft, whether they're esthetician, cosmetology, school owners, directors. So, many different hats. And I'm on the advisory board for, I think, Tresman High School cosmetology program. And so, wow, on there, we share even advisory boards that we have a career college that I formerly worked at. We had individuals come in, we would review we would show them this is what we're teaching, how we're teaching it. And they would come in and say, hey, we have a direct outlook of the industry now. I think you guys need to do this to prepare for the trend that's coming, the move, the shift of the industry that's coming. Make sure your people know this. And they may say, hey, salon owner here, we're finding people that come in, they don't understand A, B, and C. And so when they tell us that, it tells us, okay, let's go back to our curriculum. And in our teachings, let's put in some extra A, B, and C so we can ensure that when our students come out, that they have that additional training and we can kind of stop this lack of, okay? And then professional salon owners can start to see a shift. And instead of what they don't have, what the people are not coming in with, they start to see them being developed and they come in with those skills. We get a lot of opinions from our advisory council. And also we present our program. They can give us any kind of feedback that they like. They're going to do a survey and say, hey, was it a good curriculum? Do you think we need to do something else? That's what our advisory council is for. It's not so much, it shouldn't be so much friend basis at all. It should be individuals of different backgrounds reviewing your course, your program, and saying, hey, yes, this is good. This is good. Or no, you got to add this or you got to take this away. Okay. All right. Organizing material. Okay, subjects must be organized in sequence in a logical manner. So, things, learning and retention are going to be the two things that we're opting for with the different learning styles. And then we also discuss the barriers to learning, which sometimes could be disabilities. We got to make sure there's a consistent flow, and the instructor probably should not switch up their flow. It has to be a consistent flow. All right. And most students and learning styles are looking at, okay, I get it. I get it. I'm processing the information. I'm receiving it. And then there's retention. I'm able to recall it. Okay. I'm able to call it back up when I hear something is mentioned to it. I can put it in this area and I can recall it. So you want to ensure the maximum learning and retention. That's our goal. Okay. So once again, we talk about organization. You know, you yourself think about cutting, think about coloring, think about hairstyle. Okay. What should they learn first and second and third, and so on and so on. And we will teach accordingly. And our lesson plans will continue to build. They'll build up, and build up. Instructional outcomes. All right. The outcomes are our goals, our aims, our objectives. This is what we want to make sure that we can be doing all this all day long, but we do need to evaluate what's working. What's the goal at the end? Okay, so we're going to have instructional outcomes. So not only are we looking at the students to have outcomes and to see if they are learning, they're retaining information, but the instructor needs to have instructional outcomes. They got to have some objectives, some things that are holding them accountable. So if you start off teaching a lesson and there's 4 objectives, and it takes a week to teach this course, you start on Monday, everybody is introduced to those objectives. And then throughout the week, you're teaching those objectives. When you get to Friday and it's time for maybe a test or something, you're going to review those objectives. Did we, as a class, cover each objective? And if everything was covered, guess what? The learning should have taken place. But it takes place if you now modify all of that information to teach each one of your students. So yes, we went over the information, but did everybody learn something? Do everybody have a takeaway? All right. And so that's going to be one of the major goals that educators are going to have. And you may be measured on it when it comes to raises and bonuses and your evals. So making sure you have those instructional outcomes present, and then you definitely check in with that. For overall course of study, for each subject or category of study, and for each lesson plan found in a unit of study. And so even if you're studying hair color, there's so many different things to teach, you can break it down. So I may have 10 units, 10 lesson plans just within hair color because I want them to learn these 10 different things. All right. So there's always something to really think about. So when you think about cosmetology and the whole entire book, you're going to have way more lesson plans. It's not a dozen. It's not, it should be one for every day they're in that building. And if they're in that building 9 months out of 12 months, you should have 9 months of lesson plans. It is a celebratory goal that once you have done the lesson plans and you completed it one time all the way across, you've done chapter 1 all the way to chapter 26, whatever chapter it is. That's something you should celebrate. Now, the next time around, I'm just going to add 2. I don't have to do the work. I don't have to do the blueprint anymore. I'm just going to add 2 and modify it and tweak it to work for each audience at the end of the day. All right. And so those are our instructional outcomes. Looking at our objectives, yes, this is an example business 101 program goal, and then to apply learn theory, technical information, and related matter to assure sound judgments, decisions, and procedures. And so those are our objectives, examples of objectives. Okay. More additional examples. Instructional objectives specified today lesson, business, finance, and laws. And then we have 1, 2, 3. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Just sub objectives after that. And so this is our initial objective, and this is for a daily lesson. So if we're going to say this, number 1 may be Monday, number 2 may be Tuesday, 3, so on and so on. Looking at the 3 domains, okay, and once again, the process of learning is taking place. You have a cognitive domain, which is the acquisition of knowledge, have it present. Affective domain, which is development of an attitude of value as it relates to the subject matter. How much do you value how you teach and value of what they're learning? And so you have to set those things early when you talk about cognitive domain, acquisition of knowledge. Don't you know that these students are so much smarter than they were 10 years ago? And educators, you have to keep up and go a little further. So you can never stop learning. And you have to have access to all of the information that a student will have access to. So, yes, your phone is probably a business deductible because they have a phone, they have TikTok, they have Encyclopedia, Google, they have everything. And you have to make sure that you have those same things as well. Okay. Affective domain, the development of an attitude. Now, here's the thing, what you present to the student, that's going to start to build their attitude. And so you cannot present information that is old and outdated. You have to have the most relevant and recent, interesting information. You can still have the foundational, but when you introduce the subject, you got to come in with all guns up. Okay, you got to come in with interesting topic, interesting intro, a great start to the lesson. So it has to be interesting because it's going to form that attitude of what they feel about it. They're going to say, you know what, I do nails. Why do I need to learn how to do facials? Give them something that says, hey, I need to learn how to do that. Most of my students are money motivated and social media motivated. They want to learn how to make the money and how to grow the social media. All right. And so, as motivation into building that positive attitude, I can do tips. I do little nuggets. You can call them jewels. So, business tip of the day, marketing tip of the day. And that may cause a conversation. And then we may go back and forth, and I'll be able to open up the door and say, any questions? And so, this is why you need to do this. This is why you need to learn this because you're going to need this going over the amount of money that the that data says you're going to make with doing facials is amazing. You want to be prepared for that growth. So this is why you should pay attention today and just get ready. You know, we're just in a place of preparation. Just get ready. So you do have to have very positive and open attitude, and they're going to reflect from the educator and you have to bring some relevant information in. And so that's the cognitive, the acquisition of knowledge. I have the knowledge in your experience. Your resume should say you have the knowledge as well. Affective domain, that's the attitude towards that knowledge. And the psychomotor domain is the skill development as it relates to the performance of a specific task or activity. So I am going to ensure that, hey, I'm going to teach you how to cut. When I teach you how to cut, you're going to be the baddest hair cutter. If you got to motivate and push them, okay? And then we use content building, and you can use social media platforms which everybody's on, and you can use how much money that a person can make and how fast that they could do something and what the outcome, the end outcome is going to be. Put it all together and you have a student that you got their undivided attention. You have a student that is saying, teach me, teach me, teach me, because this stuff you talking, I'm excited about. Okay. And so we have to remember those components as well. Let's look at the program outline. And we'll probably go to slide 30. I'm trying to get on down to. So the program outline, and this initially is what you could take the Master Educator program. So the program name could be Master Educator Training, the program description, licensed cosmetologists and anyone under their specialized field would be in a practice of instructor training. The learning goals and objectives, you have three to want to have a minimum of three of those learning goals and objectives, but you can list them all the way up. They can continue to have numbers. Just remember, you need to be able to teach everything that you have on it. So If I'm teaching hair color, 3 objectives is just not enough. 14 to 15 objectives will probably cover it. Okay. Then we have, once we have objectives, then we have subjects and topics of instruction. So the course is broken up into under different subjects and how many hours we need to dedicate to this course. How many credits for instructors? 300 hours. And you also get 300 credits. Okay. And that's going to be a stable word required. Instructional methods. We're going to have virtual components, audio slides, things of that nature, or even books, grading procedures, review and lesson plan building, binder building. We have tests, study guides, things of that nature, and other pertinent information. And so that leaves the window open for you to add additional things like PowerPoints, slides, um, showing you just different aspects, videos, web pages, so all different things that looks at that program outline. Looking at the purpose of orientation, okay, and this is very important to understand the general objectives of the course of study. That's the purpose of the orientation. You'll have these new students in, and you may have them just by yourself for a week. They won't interjoin with any of the classes, okay? But you want them to get the full understanding and the flow of being a new student. You want them to be comfortable, ask questions. You want to be able to give them the full walkthrough of the course. To understand the general objectives of the course of study, make sure that we're all on the same page. To identify the various career opportunities within the chosen field. So there's so many things that you can do with this career, with that degree. And I stress that all the time because it is probably something that a student did not know that they could do. And a lot of times students come in for me in one price range, okay, one budget. Um, they come in and like, hey, they're making this amount of money. When they leave, my goal when they leave is to have such an advanced knowledge that when they leave, they're in a whole nother tax bracket. I've given them so much enhancing information to grow their business and to grow them where they are maternally, that they should be in another price range, another rank when they leave. All right. I believe it. I totally believe. So whatever they came in on, and even my students, I teach them how to make certain products. And if you can make these products, build them from your heart and build promotion and marketing beside them, you can make money. Okay. So because I know my students are into learning how to make money, I always have money tips for them. And they come to school because they know Miss Costa's going to give them some, they're going to they said, lead me to the bag. And so I don't mind sharing those tips if it keeps them in class. All right. And to recognize the needed lifestyle changes as a result of becoming a full-time student. And so we'll talk about the support team that they have at home, kids, work, job schedule, things of that nature. So it gives them an opportunity to make some changes to adjust the schedule. Because when they go into a traditional classroom, that teacher's going to pick up and she's expecting them to be at a certain place. And to already have those things set up as far as the lifestyle changes. Here's examples of orientation topics. And in the Milady curriculum, there's always an orientation sector as well. So it's already laid out. For us, we do have AI components that I'm building that will do our orientation for us. Super exciting because it's new technology and new technology is coming through every day. So student and staff introductions and icebreaker, and an icebreaker helps break the mood. So a short game or activity that allows the students to bond with other students. An explanation of the importance of developing people skills. And so even in orientation, we're talking about just developing that person, preparing them for this career that they're coming into. Examples of orientation topics, a history. Okay, so the history of cosmetology, the history of really cool notes, a vision board. So, it's those building of those soft skills, and everything should be positive oriented, especially when we're talking about vision boards. So you're here, give me your goals for the next 5 years. Where do you want to see yourself when you finish? What are some of your expectations for this program? Okay, so those are some of the things that I would discuss with them in orientation. So that orientation day or weeks or orientation moments, I would introduce those things, and that's how you learn to see why they're here. And as an educator, you find yourself recalling that information when times get a little tough or may feel like they're lacking a little bit. Say, hey, remember why you're here. Remember what's on your board is still achievable. So you got to have be empathetic. At the same time, you got to be stern, and you got to say, hey, we're all here for you. Let's go. A person, you got to do some motivation as well. They're your students. And we also look at job opportunities. Get this now, take that test, and I push taking that exam. And once you're licensed, you can do this, you can do that, you can do so many other things. And we can bring in guest speakers at this time too that may be operating in those fields that you're talking about that may just excite you. Okay. Also, we talk about the rules, the standards of conduct, what we will allow, what we don't allow, and the policies that we set forth. We want to talk about what happens in case of an emergency, and also sanitation and work life, that safe workspace. We talk about financial aid programs. And so, how do they pay for the program? What are some benefits, programs that they can look into? If something ever happens, how do you need to contact us, and so on and so on. So that's always a plus going through that orientation so they know all the details of what's going on. As we look here, and if you don't have this slide, this presentation, I'm going to send it to you. But I want to look at the icebreakers, and we do have an assignment for this week. I need you to find, research, or create 5 icebreakers. 5 icebreakers. Icebreakers, it says create an orientation icebreaker that will serve as a dynamic opening to your orientation program and will create an opportunity for new students to get to know each other. And so really, icebreakers breaks up that little quiet space, that quiet space where all the new students don't want to say anything, no one's volunteering to talk. And so icebreakers are very interactive. And with icebreakers being very interactive, they can just break the ice before you start a course, before you start a program. One of my favorite icebreakers I use is the toothpick. And I would bring these toothpicks, and I would let each person pull a toothpick. All right. And I would partner the toothpicks up. And so you had a red toothpick, all of you guys were partners. You had a pink or yellow or blue toothpick, all of you guys were partners. So I strategically brought in colored toothpicks, and that was how you built the teams. And so no one could say, oh, she put the favorites together. We don't even want to start with that. So I had colored toothpicks, whatever color you pick, hold it up, and go find the person that has the same color toothpick, and y'all are on the team. Once they got into their areas on a team, of course, they're out of their desk. They may be in areas all over the room. I tell everybody go to a corner. And so they just say there's three teams. They go to three corners. They go to three parts of the room. I'm walking around, and sometimes I'll stand in the middle with the teams around me, and I'll say, okay, now you guys have 3 minutes, but you need one writer. You need one person on the team who can write. You got to take down all the information. One person on the team who can write, that's going to take down all the information. And you need one person that's going to speak, who's going to be a spokesman for the team. So as together as a team, they figure out that they say, hey, we're ready. I say, okay, I need you guys. You got 3 minutes, but I need the person to have the most. This team is going to win. Who has the most uses of a toothpick? What can you do with that toothpick? Okay, what can you do with that toothpick? And so they go back to their teams, and they're like, okay, we could clean our nails with the toothpick. We could we could write with the toothpick. We could eat with the toothpick. I mean, they're coming up with so many things. And so once the 3 minutes is over, buzzer hits, I say, okay, where's all my writers? Hold up your sheet of paper. And I ask, how many do you have? One group may have 15 uses of a toothpick. Another one may have 10 uses of a toothpick. Another one may have 25 uses of a toothpick, or maybe 20 uses of a toothpick. So I tell them, I said, look, here's the rule. If you name something on your list and all the other teams have it, everybody scratches it out. And so what's left is the original items that no one else has copied. And they're like, what? So it doesn't matter who has the most numbers. It's after we get through tallying the score, that's the winner who has the most original uses of a toothpick. And so it is a very fun game, a fun uh, session, a fun icebreaker. They get so excited. It's like, oh, I never thought of that, or oh man, we got it. And by the time that they call out everything, you went from those higher numbers to one team having three, one team having four, and another team maybe down to like five. So the person who has the group that has the five, they ended up being the winners. And so you know, it doesn't matter who you think with the most numbers to win. It's the ones at the end that had the most original uses for that toothpick. And so I like to start that off with a laugh. I'll start the day out with a laugh. And I would probably go to break immediately after because they're fun, they're exciting, they're chattering, and now they're talking about how much fun they had outside on the break. And when they come back in, it's time to go to work. I get them ready to learn. We broke it up, we broke that staleness up. And so now the instructor has to come back in and deliver an amazing class. What you're going to do is research 5 icebreakers, find the best ones and put them on the list. And you're going to have them ready for class on Thursday. Okay. Find 5 icebreakers. They could be candy to whatever. I've already used the toothpick one, so you can't do the toothpick one. But you got to find 5 icebreakers. I try to find icebreakers with music and candy and something that gets the students moving, because I do icebreakers to get the crowd, get them going, because we do theory first in the mornings. So I find an icebreaker to get them moving. Okay. Um, and you can do icebreakers at any time of the day, just especially if you want to lighten the mood. You feel like the class is the mood of the class is coming down, so you need to do something to energize it. And so icebreakers are good at any given time. Any questions?
No, I don't have any questions.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right. And so those are icebreakers. Did you get a chance to look at those lesson plans? Those
I did.
templates?
I did. I actually did one, but I don't know how well I did, but I did do one.
Send me a picture of it. Scan me a copy of it. Let me check it out.
I'll send it to you. Yeah. Hold on.
Yeah. How did you feel about it?
It was a little difficult. I did understand how to do it. I did not add like times and everything. I might have put probably too much under my structure for it. I'm sending it to you. You want
Yeah,
me to send your email or
yeah, send it to the email. Did you see the one that I scanned and sent over to you? Did it look a little more simpler than the one that was in Canva?
yes, in the
Oh,
text message, I did see that one too. The one in Canva was pretty straightforward. That's the one that I used.
okay.
Um, is it the cosmetology DCI Cosmo? I mean,
Uh-huh. DCICosmo@gmail.com. And so that lesson plan is just like a map, It's just
yeah,
like a map. And teaching without it is like you're driving and don't know where you're going.
right.
So
I
it's good.
I can
It's
understand.
good to have that GPS. It's good to have that lesson plan in place.
And like you said, with color, it's so much with color.
Hmm.
I was like, oh, should I do color? But but I kind of broke it down to like the basics of
Mm,
it. And yeah, I sent it to you
okay. Let
already. I sent it to your email.
hold on one moment.
I just used the template and filled it in.
Okay, hold on. All right. Look at you. Look at you. You know the hardest part is getting that first one out, right?
Yeah, because I it took me all weekend, but
The
I
hardest
wrote
part is, oh, you're
it.
good now.
Yeah, that's not my first one. That's actually a second one that I had to
Okay. Okay. Well, you can be like, man, I got this. I have it's always be the one you go back to. I
yeah.
like it. Color theory, teaching style, great. Interactive discussion, uh, the learning objectives, explain the structure of hair. Great, great. Density, texture, porosity. That's gonna be amazing. And they're gonna remember that from a previous subject. So it's gonna be just more information that comes back around.
Yeah.
This would be so cool too, because you may be able to do an activity, with a glass of water and putting their hair strand, letting them test each other's
Mhm.
porosity. Identify the natural colors and tones of hair. I like it. Understanding the color wheel and identify the types of color. Bam, you got it. You got it. So that's what you're focused on, because we talked about sometime, and for me, I can go left, so I gotta have a plan.
Yeah.
But that keeps you, and it lets you rate and evaluate, like your assessment at the bottom. Did we
Mhm.
cover what we supposed to today? You know,
Yeah.
and even if one area, you maybe say, hey, we need to cut practical short for a minute because I need to make sure y'all understand the color wheel. So let's do an activity that
Mhm.
may reiterate the color wheel. It could be calling out the colors or something, but you want to make sure you touch those objectives daily. You got the
Yeah.
materials needed, books, paper, pen. Yep. Got your motivation. Oh, I like that. Your structure and your activity, the discover items, yes, color wheel, hair structure, and hair level swatches. So it's going to be a good day. It's going to be a
Yeah.
good day.
I was thinking about all of the different learning types too when I was thinking about the color swatches, having stuff that they can actually have physically in their hand for the people, like you said, who
Mhm.
need to be touching stuff while they're listening. And like the color wheel for while we're talking about color, people can look at it, hold it, but
Yeah,
need to have physical things in their hands as they learn. That would be ideal, for
that is
that.
good. And that's when you know it has now everything is starting to come together where you don't just do the lesson plan and say, hey, I just want to teach this. No, I need to make sure that at least I'm touching at least four different intelligence. And so you have when I say it's plainly broken down, you have the logical, you have it in steps. You see the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. That's
Yeah.
that mathematical person. That person says, okay, I get it. you know, and that's why we have to make sure that we cover those objectives because that mathematical person say, we went over three, we're missing one. You know,
Hmm.
um, and then you have the broken down activity. It's the only thing you'll have to do is put the time.
Yeah.
Okay, you'll have to put the time. So, and this also could be turned into a quiz at the end of the day. Let's do a top 10. And I say that I'm gonna record probably tomorrow when we do our well at the end of our lesson, I put the assessment back on the students. Let's do a top 10. And if I got 10 students, give me one thing you learned today. And my objective initially going in would be to teach them something they have not done or have not seen or go
Hmm.
deeper into something so they can walk away with something that they've learned. And my students will go, oh, I learned about the fold of the elbow. I learned about the predisposition test, the patch test. I learned about waxing, applying the wax with the grain of, with the grain of the hair. And for me, that is a great way to assess whether you got what you needed to get across. All right. And so I love that. Only thing, and you really, if you're great with time, great. If you were to add time, you will have to put in the breaks and lunches. But when I tell you, if that time was on the board, that means those students who are task oriented, they'll be looking at the time or even set an alarm and say, or you can have your timer, your watch or something on, and you'll know when it's time to go to the next area. All right. So, man, I like that. I like, and then assessment, you can literally assess everything at the end of the day.
Class. Yeah.
You can put it in a binder if you're out one day and someone has to teach this and they can look at your lesson plan and say, bam, we got it. They can make a copy and just change the date, or they can write a new date on the back of it. Say, hey, we taught this on 7/30/24, and we also taught this October the 5th, 24, and
Hmm.
they'll just continue to update it and they could continue to write their assessments. Before you know it, you have, I mean, the value of that classroom is in that binder.
Hmm.
Everything someone needs to know to manage and run that classroom would be in that binder because it's a proven lesson plans that work. So I like it. Good job. Good job. Good job. And
Thank you.
so um, we'll continue to work on the lesson plans,
Mhm.
building the notes. So let's build some notes for all of these. Okay. On that, let's see, do you have the note page on here?
You sent me the whole thing. I don't
Oh,
have the note on
okay.
here,
Let's just
but
build some
it's
notes.
yeah.
So maybe some questions that you would ask them. So if you're teaching this, what are some of those supportive questions that you would ask them? Because you want to be able to it to be interactive. So you're teaching, They're listening to your lecture, but hold on one moment. You want to be able. Okay, so you want to be able to ask some questions. And when you're asking the questions, you want them to be able to respond back to you. That's that interactive component. You want to know what they thought of the lesson. You want to know what do y'all see when we talk about primary and secondary colors? What are some color companies that you guys see? You can say one activity would be um, like I do work for Kiss Colors, and one activity to say, let's go to Instagram. You have maybe 10 minutes to pull out your phone, or if you have a computer in the class, as a class, y'all will go to Instagram, or you can go to Google and say, let's pull up colorful wigs. And so, since you know wigs are a trendy thing, or your students like styling wigs, that's going to be interesting to them. And then pulling up colorful wigs could either be a homework assignment where you tell them to bring in 3 pictures, or create a portfolio in your phone where you're showing me some colorful secondary and primary colors. They'd be like, what? Yeah, you got to find a wig that has primary and secondary colors. And if there's 6 of those colors, they got to bring in 6 wigs. And what that does, you take in their interests plus the learning concept and put them together. They will never forget that moment that they had to look up 6 wigs. And because it's trendy now that people wear really different color wigs, or different color extensions, or different color anything, they'll be able to find it. You're putting them right in the middle. You're showing them where to go get it, whether it's Pinterest, whether it is IG, whether it's just Googling. They have to do it, and they're going to have fun doing it. And before class starts, you'll do your motivation, and that can be your iceberg. You can tell them, send them to me, and I'm going to pull them up on the screen. Send them to me, and I'm going to mirror my iPad to go up on the screen. And so what happens, they start to see this ooh ah moment that's in the classroom, and they may ask a question. How do you do that? How do you do that, Miss Edwards? How do you do that? And that's what you're looking for. You know what? I'm going to show you how to do that today. I want you to stay tuned because we're going to do that this week, and don't want you to miss another day. But tomorrow, this is what we're going to do. So I need everybody to be here on time, ready to roll. We're gonna color. I'm gonna bring in a wig, or somebody's gonna bring in a wig. Everybody bring in a hairpiece, or we got little y'all can work as a team, and we're gonna color some wigs. You will have them not wanting to go home, not wanting the class to stop, but it's more, it just adds more punch, more spice, more flavor to the lesson plans your activities do. So I don't want you to be minimized on the activities. Go for it. Go for it, because it's going to make them want to learn. And I had students say, we just did sanitation and y'all dismissed. It's like, I know, but we just want to stay here. I'm like, but it's my study time. We just wanted to hang out. We ain't gonna bother you. I'm like, you are bothering me. But it was fun to see that they loved the learning concept, and they wanted to stick around to learn more. So that's always amazing. But good job. And so we're gonna pick back up on just now adding supportive questions. How do we make that interactive and build discussion? Students that are maybe reserved, how do we build discussion? And, we talked about not requiring them to read, but you got to give them something that makes them want to come in, you know? And we could put them in teams, but you got to have that interaction with them, and learning, building that effective communication. Learning definitely will take place. So we're gonna build supportive questions for Thursday, and we're also gonna list five icebergs. Five icebergers. Okay. Does that sound good?
Yep.
Awesome. In August, graduation is August the 24th. And ma'am, you're gonna be out of here. We are almost done with your chapters. We have about three more chapters. So we're gonna hit them once every week and get ready for state board prep, okay?
Okay.
Awesome.
Do I
So
need to come up there this week sometime or?
um we're in the building tomorrow. Where we tonight is going to be a makeup night for them because I had an emergency. So I don't know how many are coming in tonight, but you can tomorrow. You can come back tomorrow night. Class starts at 5. Uh, you can join us on Zoom Thursday night. Class starts at 6.
Okay.
We have Cosmo at 6 also. So I would probably say Wednesday or Thursday.
Okay.
Till Thursday, that would be great. You don't have to stay the whole time, but I would love for you to meet them. There's some amazing students. I love this group of students, and you'll see why it's important that we keep it coming. We keep it with fresh information because they're gonna they gonna be ready. Okay,
Okay.
and I've learned about this class. You got to be ready. You can't get ready when they come in because these students want to learn. And I walk away every Monday and Wednesday night saying they got their money worth.
Mm-hmm. So
And
you said that's the Thursday night class,
um,
virtual or
Wednesday Wednesday night, aesthetics is in the building. Cosmo's in the building too. But right now, Cosmo is with us because they're on facials. And so I'm teaching everybody at the same time, facials and things like that. So Cosmo and aesthetics is on facials. That's Wednesday night. That's when they do hands-on training. And then we have Thursday, everybody is in separate Zoom rooms, but we are virtual starting at 6 p.m.
6?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. Let me know which one you prefer, and I'm gonna just be expecting you to come through, okay?
All right.
All right. See you Thursday. And if you have any questions about the questions, just keep me posted, okay?
Okay.
All right. Have a great
You too.